This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
Welcome to the show, folks. This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement. My name is Jessica, of course, always here with Mark Cordner. But I'll tell you what, today we are going to go past just talking about the normal stuff when it comes to income planning and planning for your retirement. We have a very special guest that we're going to intro in just a moment. But before we get to that, ask yourself, what would your life be like if you didn't have a mortgage payment? Mark, take it away.
Well, I'm excited about this. It's great to be with you again, Jessica. We've got a special guest today here with Harlan Accola of Movement Mortgage. And I'm just so excited to be able to talk about home equity conversion mortgages, which on the street are known as reverse mortgages. You know, I am not licensed to sell mortgages, but I have been teaching these concepts for well over 20 years now and implementing these concepts. And when it comes to reverse mortgage, I'm absolutely going to do one here in 3 years. 3 years this month is when I'll start my application. You got to be 62, so I'm not quite there yet. But, you know, for many years in our industry, I lived under threat. I was teaching these concepts and was told I could lose my license and be penalized for broker-dealers and all these kind of crazy things. And then about 10 to 15 years ago, Barry Sachs and some other academics came out with some papers that said, whoa, the financial industry has this wrong. Reverse mortgages are not just for poor people. They're actually an ideal vehicle for people of means. And I was vindicated. It was like the whole industry did a 180-degree reverse. And now those who read, those who are informed, understand that this is a tremendous planning tool and that, frankly, most middle-income Americans should have reverse mortgages, or more technically known, home equity conversion mortgages. And, I can think of at least 7 quick benefits of this, and then I'm going to introduce Harlan. But, more cash flow in retirement, lower income taxes, tax mitigation strategies, market volatility mitigation strategies, ways to release dormant equity so we can get into a more ideal final home, single story, perhaps nicer community. Certainly creating an income bridge so we can defer Social Security if that makes sense. And then the one that's so exciting for most grandparents is it frees up money so we can make memories now with the grandkids. And generally speaking, I see about a 1/3 improvement in the size of the inheritable estate that grandparents can leave behind. So with all that said, I am just so excited to introduce Harlan. Harlan is a nationally recognized author and speaker. He's the director of reverse mortgages for Movement Mortgage. He is right in the trenches, and he understands this better than anyone. And, he wrote a book called Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages, the Cinderella of the Baby Boomer Retirement. There's about a dozen books on reverse mortgages that I've shared, but his is one of the top 2 that I love to share because it so illustrates the power of this tool. So, Harlan, I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your feelings about reverse mortgages, maybe your personal experience. I know you did one as soon as within hours of when you turned 62. And you've certainly seen people's fears and the misunderstandings out there. And tell us a little bit about yourself and why you see this as a tremendous tool.
Well, let's start with where I was at 20 years ago. I was the chief among skeptics. I mean, I told everybody to stay away from them. They rip off the old people and screw their kids. So why would you even think about it? And that was my 15-second presentation on reverse mortgages, and it was out of ignorance. And I also told people that they should never get cash value life insurance. They shouldn't buy annuities. They don't even need a financial advisor. You can just put money into index funds. And oh my goodness, you would not have liked me 20 years ago. I was just really dumb. Fortunately, I had a few people that hit me over the head and woke up and realized that what I didn't know was they always say what you don't know doesn't hurt you. Well, in the financial planning world, what you don't know does hurt you. And you're one of the few brave people that were the trailblazers amongst financial advisors that were not afraid to just kind of look at the facts. And people will frequently say to me, well, after I got educated, obviously I recommend reverse mortgages to everyone over 62 because I know how it actually makes sense. I've personally done thousands of these and trained people that do thousands more. And this is what it really comes down to. It's another asset. And people know they need to come to people like you as a professional advisor to manage their IRAs, their 401ks, their life insurance, their annuities, their savings accounts, whatever. But they never think about what they do with their house. And in my book that you mentioned, there's 3 buckets of wealth. Everyone who owns a house has a bucket of wealth, and everybody has heard that I can build wealth through real estate. I just talked to a client in Washington State on Friday. She bought the house for $160,000, her and her husband, and it is now worth $1.8 million. That's kind of a lot of wealth that has occurred over the last 35 years that they've owned the house and raised their family in and everything else. But she's broke. She doesn't have any money because her advisor never told her about reverse mortgages. She's down to her last $50,000, and she's scared to death because she's 78 and she's still healthy. And so
those are heartbreaking stories.
Yeah, she's a multimillionaire, or almost 1.5 million or more after you subtract the loans, and she's in great shape, but she's scared to death. And here she's got this multi-million, all this $1 million worth of wealth that she cannot use. So what we did is we broke down those three buckets. Bucket number one is the client's bucket, their ability to make money. And many people have a great ability to make money. They retire as millionaires, but then they don't know what to do with that afterwards. And that's where you come in, where how do you manage that? Does it go into AUM? Does it go into annuities? Does it go into a savings account? Where does that money go so that it can be properly managed? And everybody knows they should do something with that. And that's that second bucket, what we call bucket two of the nest egg, the money that you don't need today but you want for the future. Bucket three is the home equity. She's deposited hundreds of thousands of dollars into that house over the years with repairs and maintenance, improvements, so on and so forth. She's also made tons of monthly payments and paid taxes and everything else. So she's put a ton of money, along with her late husband, a ton of money into bucket three. But she doesn't think about taking it out. Nobody told her you can take some of that out. When my son bought his house, Mark, a few years ago, he called me up and said, hey, I'm the newest homeowner in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and get your butt over here and help us move. And I hate moving, but of course I went over and helped him move. And he said, hey, Dad, by the way, I read your book. And I know that even though Bridget and I are only in our 30s, in 30 years, we're going to get a refund of all the mortgage payments that we're making for the next 30 years. Now, think about that. How many young people have ever been told you can get money back from your house when you get older? They've been told everybody knows if you put money into a 401k, you can take it out at 59 and a half. You put money into Social Security, you can take it out at 62. There's a clear understanding of what you do with bucket one and bucket two. There's not a clear understanding of what you do with housing wealth. And there's $14 trillion sitting in housing wealth, and people like this poor Elizabeth think they're broke when they're wealthy. And all we do is convert some of that money. We don't take their house away. We just take some of that money and give it back to them. Just like if somebody's got $1 million IRA, you don't take it over as management and take it away. And when they die, it goes somewhere else other than to their kids. If they use $200,000, they still have $800,000 left. Well, if you got $1 million house and you use $200,000, you still have $800,000 left. So why not use some of the house money because it's tax-free? That's
Amen.
what people get so confused, is they treat bucket three differently than bucket two. It's okay to use that money if you use it in the context of a reverse mortgage, because it's safe and you're guaranteed never to get kicked out of the house as long as you pay your taxes and insurance. Of course, you got to do that anyway. And you can live there, even if the value of your house goes down, you can live there for the rest of your life and never have to worry about being kicked out. And that's what people get so confused on is, well, if I do a reverse mortgage, I lost my house. No, you just used some of that wealth. And if we built wealth through real estate, how can we use the wealth in that real estate so that we can have a better fourth quarter of life? And the favorite thing for me is, yes, in going back to the beginning of your question, I eat my own cooking. As soon as I understood it, I said, well, I'm going to do a reverse mortgage when I turn 62. Well, on April 26th, I turned 62, and on 8 o'clock in the morning on April 27th, I was signing my reverse mortgage because I didn't need it. And a lot of people say, well, how come you did that when you don't need it? You're still working. You can afford to make a mortgage payment. Because I want to send more money to bucket two, because I know that you end up with a better fourth quarter of retirement if you send money to bucket two instead of sending it to bucket three. And my greatest joy is we've got 5 grandkids, 2 more on the way. It is... as soon as I did my reverse mortgage, we told all the kids, we're now going to do reverse mortgage vacations, because I learned this from many of my clients. And there's only 2 rules. Rule number 1, you have to do all the planning. Rule number 2, you have to take mom and I along. And whatever else, wherever we're going to go, that's up to you. So far, we've traveled all over Europe, retracing my dad's steps in throughout Europe with one of my younger sons. And we've went to Kauai and done helicopter trips and hiked through the jungles and everything, and went to Mexico and Iceland with the son that bought his house that said he's getting a refund on his money. Those memories are irreplaceable. So they're kind of getting a little bit of their inheritance early because I'm not putting as much money into bucket 3 into my house. I'm just a farm kid from Wisconsin, Mark, and I never went to college. If I can figure this out, a whole bunch of people should be able to figure that out. I'm not that smart.
But what I so love about that is life is not about money. And here you're illustrating how in your own family you've been able to make memories while your grandkids can remember you. You're part of the memories. You're not just leaving a lump sum to them. And, tradition would have us all believe that we have to pass our home on to our kids. But statistically speaking, less than 1% of the adult children ever want to take over the family home. They've got their own lifestyles. They're probably living elsewhere, yada, yada, yada. So you're opening up this wonderful box. You refer to Cinderella. I don't know what kind of treasure box to refer to this as. But to be able to make memories with the family now, I teach people how to do perpetual family reunions beyond the grave. This is the kind of thing that permits those habits to be ingrained in our children and grandchildren's. I'm going to shut up with that and let you keep going. But, I love, love, love what you're saying.
Well, I think the biggest thing is I hate doing reverse mortgages when a very qualified fiduciary-oriented advisor like Mark is not involved. And unfortunately, there's very few Marks out there. So for those of you that are listening, you're lucky that you're dealing with Mark or planning on dealing with Mark, because this is not about willy-nilly just taking money out of your house and having a great time and throwing money all over the place. This is about making it part of a plan. If you do a rollover of a 401k, or you start a life insurance contract, or you set up an annuity, or you decide when to take Social Security, at the same time as you're doing all of this planning, like I did in my 40s and our clients do before they ever get to 62, is how does the housing wealth, how do housing payments fit in with the overall picture? And that's really the mistake that a lot of advisors make. It's a mistake that a lot of loan officers make in our industry, is not working together. When you've got a doctor working on your foot and a doctor working on your heart, they talk to each other. That's why Mark and I talk to each other, or our team talks to Mark's team, to make sure that we have the best outcome for the patient, just like two doctors work on the best scenario for our clients. There's a variety. People say, well, how do I use a reverse mortgage? I don't need it. I can afford to make my house payment, or I've got my house paid off, or whatever. That's where we get into the things that Mark talked about at the top of our call, is that, hey, just a minute here. You've got your house paid off. Does it make sense to pull tax-free money out of your house instead of pulling it out of your investments? And maybe you should delay Social Security, as Mark had talked about. Maybe you need some tax-free money out to drop you into a lower tax bracket. Maybe you need to pull money out for whatever purpose that it is. Which bucket do you pull it out of? Do you take it out of your 401k? Do you take it out of your Social Security? Do you take it out of your house? It needs to be a coordinated overall plan, because a reverse mortgage is like a Swiss Army knife. Sometimes all we do is eliminate a mortgage payment. I was talking to a client in Massachusetts on Friday. $3,200 a month, and they both unexpectedly lost their job in their mid-60s. And yeah, they've got $800,000 in their investments, but does it make sense to take out almost $40,000, $50,000 a year and run out of money in 10 years? They're in good shape if they die in 10 years. Well, they're not in good shape. They're dead. But, I mean, financially, they're okay because they don't have any money anymore. But if they don't die in 10 years, they're out of money. But if we eliminate their $3,200 mortgage payment, they don't have to worry about ever running out of money. The financial advisor did the numbers and said, if you decrease the amount that you're taking out, it'll last forever. But if you keep taking out $60,000, $70,000 a year, you're going to run out. So those are the situations where we work together. So it might be as simple as just one thing. We're just eliminating the mortgage payment. Maybe we're helping to pay the taxes in a Roth conversion, which is a really big deal right now, not knowing where taxes go. A ton of people have millions of dollars, billions, trillions, sitting in money that's going to be taxed by the government. I tell people all the time, did you know that you got a mortgage on your IRA? No, we don't have a mortgage on our IRA. Yeah, the government has a lien on your IRA. When you pull the money out, you're going to have to pay it, unless it's a Roth. And so we can help with the Roth conversion scenario overall. Sometimes we might just be increasing their standard of living. Sometimes we might help a grandkid go to college or buy their first car. Or, I had to buy my granddaughter a house. She's 8 years old. It was a Barbie dream house. It was $200. That kind of stuff gets expensive with grandkids. So, there's a lot of different things that we can do that just changes what we do if we integrate one more bucket of wealth that is dropped into the overall planning. That's what Mark does so well, and his team is say, hey, you've got another bucket to draw from. How does this fit in? Now all of these other things will work better because you're allowing us to incorporate another bucket of wealth into the overall picture. That's what is so incredibly important. It's got to be done holistically together. There's a lot we can do just to give you some tax-free money. There's a lot Mark can do in his planning. But when we work together, we just multiply each other's efforts because we've got more horses in the race to work together to make it work. And far too few people work at their planning that way.
Yeah, it's a true synergy. 1 + 1 = 3. It is a magic partnership when we work together with other professionals, and we don't have the arrogance of thinking that we can do everything for our clients. It really needs to be a team approach.
And what I encourage all of you to do is there's two major issues that people are thinking. First of all, they think that a reverse mortgage is for somebody else. Oh, that'd be great for my brother-in-law who's broke that got a divorce. That'd be great for my sister who doesn't have any kids. That would be great for somebody that's an 85-year-old widow and has no money. Well, that's technically true. It's good for all of those people. But what about if you just want to buy a different house? And like I wanted to move closer to my grandkids that were 3 hours away, and that housing area is more expensive in Minneapolis as compared to central Wisconsin. So what if you just want to be able to have some additional cash or deal with the Roth conversion stuff? That's the thing that people just do not understand, that they must look at is just a minute, how does this fit in with what my goals are? And then the other thing is, I've got a whole chapter in my book about this, and it's called The Bear in the Closet. And I'll kind of end my thoughts with this. There are so many people that are afraid of things they shouldn't be afraid of. And when I was a kid, when my dad snored in the room next door, I was sure there was a bear in the closet. And my mom had to come in and comfort me and put me back to bed and no, that's just your father snoring. There is no bear in the closet. She had to take me to the closet, turn the light on, and show me there was no vicious bear in the closet. There's all kinds of people that think a reverse mortgage is going to get them somehow. They're going to lose their house. They're going to get kicked out when they don't want to be kicked out. And the government's going to come and tell them what color they should paint their house. None of those things are the case. And so I encourage anyone listening, just turn the light on. Let Mark and I turn the light on in the bear in the closet and show you there's no bear there. And this is just something that can be constructively used to help the overall planning. It is not something that is out to get you, or the government's going to take your house away, or you're going to be homeless at 85 years old and all alone out in the street. Please take a look at it, because if somebody like me would have listened to all the stories out there, I wouldn't have been able to help hundreds and thousands of people across this country, and we just want to be of help to you. And we can't if you don't look just a little bit further and not be afraid of that bear that is not really in the closet.
That's such a wonderful story.
And I tell you what, you mentioned it earlier here, how it really is about working together, both Harlan and Mark, you guys doing a cohesive effort here. And if you're interested, you're listening right now going, gosh, this sounds too good to be true. Or, man, I turn 62 next month. I need to get all the details about how I can do this. I need to talk with Harlan about that. Then I need to talk to Mark about how it's going to influence my income and my retirement. I'm going to set you up right here. If you'd like to get more information and talk with Harlan one-on-one, all you have to do is call 580-REVERSE. Again, that's 580-REVERSE. Find out about this reverse mortgage opportunities. Then you want to switch gears, talk about how it's going to influence your retirement. That's where you call Mark. Of course, 702-996-4050. And you can always get more details about Mark, of course, at mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Both Mark and Harlan, as we're kind of slowing down here at the end of the show, what are your thoughts for those that say, there's got to be a catch somewhere. This sounds too good to be true?
I've heard that probably a few hundred times, maybe a few thousand times. It's not too good to be true. It's too good to be free. This is not grant money from the government. We're not giving money away. My son once told me, Dad, if you keep giving money away, pretty soon we're going to run out. Well, we're lending money. We're not giving money away. And so there is a cost, just like there's a cost to any investment. There's a cost to anything that we do. Either we got to keep working or we've got to pull money from our other numbers. So we weigh the costs and say, this is what it's going to cost on this side of the equation. This is what you're going to gain on this side of the equation, whether it's fun stuff like reverse mortgage syndications or whether it's an increase in your investments. So there's always a cost. Nothing is free, but it's a trade-off. I have traded a significant amount of my home equity so that I have more money in my investments and that I have more money to spend. And that's a trade. And it's a very good trade that I want a lot of people to see and that most of our clients have done also. They're not trying to die with the most equity in the house. They're trying to enjoy life and have a significant amount of money that if they're going to pass on generational wealth, they do it through life insurance contracts or they do it with Roth IRAs instead of passing on a house. And so it's not about not achieving your goals or losing something. It's about gaining and just trading one thing for another and coming out on the better end of the stick, that you're not in a situation where you lose, but you simply gain more than what you give up on the other side of the equation. Excellent question, Jessica. That's so important because I've heard that many, many times.
And I just love this because there's so many of my clients that have benefited from this. You know, when you think that 3/4 of women go into retirement single by choice or by circumstance, then we have to start thinking differently about home equity. When we think of same-sex couples, we have lots of clients who are in this situation where they have no intention of leaving the home to anyone specific. Well, why not unleash that equity? Why not activate it so you can do things while you're alive? Quick story, and I'll wrap with this. I had a dear friend, took him 3 years. I was telling him about this for 3 years, and finally one day he cocked his head and he said, "Are you sane?" And I said, "Yes, Steve, that's what I've been saying to you for 3 years." He's a dear friend. Well, this was on a Friday morning. Friday night, he went out and found a home. Sunday, I went to church, and a friend, a mortgage broker, came up and said, "Hey, your buddy's moving into that neighborhood next to you." He was doing what's called a reverse mortgage for purchase. He moved out of one home, and he went to a single-story home, much better for his situation. When the light bulb went on, it all happened within 24 hours.
Harlan, great to have you here today and wonderful information.
Thanks. Great opportunity. And by the way, a reminder to all of you young people that are upset that you're not 62 yet and you can't do this, help your parents. So tell your parents about it, and it'll make your inheritance and your retirement a better scenario as well. But start early, and let's talk to your parents and put your whole family into a better situation. Thanks for the opportunity.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.